And good evening. I am Rufus Bill, and I would like to welcome you to another edition of Talking To, which is a weekly human interest broadcast every Sunday from 7 o'clock until 8 o'clock p.m. here on Facebook Live as well as YouTube. The date is 1/19/2025. The time is 7:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the Midwest today in the cold city of Detroit. Today currently the temperature is 17 degrees, but it feels like 5 below. Yes, it is cold in this neck of the woods. So if you have any kind of fur coat, don't wait for church day. Bring that bear, beaver, mink, chinchilla, fox, foal, whatever you might have. Now is the appropriate time to wrap up in that coat. Now, if you don't have any of those items, whatever coat you have, put it on, layer up. I'm telling you, it's so cold. I just came in from that weather, and I could not believe how cold it was. I was riding with some friends, and they were dropping me off. And when I we were saying our goodbyes while I was in the car, and I happened to open the door and just crack the door so I could get out. They put me out of the car because they said, "Hurry up, get out of the car. The cold air is upon us." And it is. I can't give you any heat hints. You know, some of us like to put that heat on 65, 70. Listen, crank it up. That's my helpful hint for you. Crank it all the way up, as I have done, and I still feel a brisk of cool air shooting around in the area where I am. It could be because one of the need to do some weatherizing around here, but nonetheless, it is cold, and it's expected to be even colder for the next 2 days. And as we are preparing for the celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King on tomorrow, we'll be honoring such a great man who did and accomplished so many things in his life, so many things, and we are still reaping some of the benefits from Dr. King. We also are still listening to some of the very various speeches that he did, telling us of how we should get ourselves together and how we should operate and navigate in this world currently. Well, enough of that. It's time to bring on our host. And with that, we would like to say good afternoon, Joanne Tolson Fuller. How are you today?
Hey, Rufus. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, too. You staying warm over there?
I am. I look, I was trying to go outside to do some things, run some errands. I changed my mind. Like, not today. So I have been in the house all day long.
Wise woman.
I'm telling you, it, like you said, it is cold.
It is cold. And I was telling some friends,
we're talking about single digit cold.
Single digits. And it wasn't even nighttime. So I know even now that it is pitch black, it's colder.
Yes.
The weather is here, whether you want it or not. And with that, we're going to say good afternoon or good evening to Justin. What's going on, Justin Hearn?
What's going on, good people?
How you doing today?
Hey, Justin.
Hey, like you said, cold. Cold.
That is the word of the day.
Mm-hmm. Baby, it's cold outside.
Baby, it's cold outside. And, well, that's one of the words for the day.
Mm-hmm.
So, we the game was last night.
We gotta hurry to get this section of the show over with.
Yes, please.
Trying to steal my joy. I'm happy. I mourned, and you
I,
taking me back.
I'm taking you
You
back.
taking me back.
We just got to reflect for a moment, Jay. Jay and Jay.
Yeah.
PTSD.
I know.
And,
So I didn't watch the game.
okay.
And because, as Justin says often, the nail biters, I said, I'm not even going to put myself through watching the game. But I looked at, I brought the score up halftime. I said, okay. I still was not worried.
No, I wasn't either.
But when I woke this morning and I kind of just glanced on social media, I didn't see anything about Go Lions one way or the other. So I still didn't do a lot of research. So it wasn't until I was at church. I said, well, I guess this is the best place as any to see what happened. When I saw that we had lost, what was the score? 45-31. The first person I thought about, Joanne, was Justin. Now, Justin predicted, I think 2 shows ago, don't get your hopes up. You remember that, Joanne?
He did.
He did say it. He
gave some stats about it.
And he gave stats.
Yeah.
And as of now, I don't know what to say.
Yeah. I was hopeful, but at the end of the day, like I said a couple weeks ago, the Lions lost too much to be real Super Bowl contenders. You working with players that were signed, some from off the street. I mean, you just look at the injuries that we had on defense. It wasn't likely. I think that the Lions played an unbelievable season to win 15 games, some lose 2 games. Phenomenal,
yes,
right? You got rid of the stigma of the SOL, the same old Lions. However, I feel like the stigma is back. But it's almost like a new version of stigma. So
exactly.
the Lions didn't win at all. Now they're winning, but now it's like you get a big game, you get a big moment, and then you just let up. I think the turning point of the game was in the first quarter. The first mistake I think the Lions made was David Montgomery had been out. You know what I'm saying? And he had been injured. And Gibbs has showed up and showed out.
Okay.
I thought they should have rolled that hand that first drive. They didn't. They started David Montgomery. So he hasn't played in 2 weeks. They started him. That first drive stalls out. Now, Washington gets the ball. They go down. They turn the ball over on downs. And Lions get the ball back. They insert Gibbs. And 7 plays later, they score a touchdown. So it's looking good. The defense gets another stop. The Lions march the ball down the field, probably somewhere between the 15 and the 10-yard line. It's 3rd down and 1. And this is the turning point of the game. The Lions are up 7-0 with a chance to go up 14-0. And they get cute. All year, 3rd and 1, we've run the ball. I mean, it's 1 yard. And, Dan Campbell's going to go for it. So if you want to get cute on 4th down, okay, get cute on 4th down. But at 3rd and 1, and you have the best offensive line, arguably in the NFL. Okay. And they decided to go empty, meaning that Jared Goff didn't have any protection outside of the offensive line. There was nobody back there with him. They went 5 guys wide. And he got some pressure. And moving up in the pocket, he dropped the ball. Washington recovered it, 10-yard line. 7 plays later, they score a touchdown. They never looked back from that point. He ended up throwing 2 more interceptions during that game. And then at one point, another turning point of the game was the Lions were only down 10 points. And here we go. They got cute again. Another trick play. They let J-Mo throw the ball. That pass was intercepted. So it was just too cute. I don't think that, I think a lot of us wanted the Lions to rest and everything, but I don't even think it was the rest. I think the Lions just got out coached. I think Washington was kind of, I don't want to say they overlooked them, but it was, and a lot of it was Jared Goff. I mean, a lot of it was Jared Goff. And it's crazy because, and I feel like I'm talking too much, but you have this narrative that the Rams got rid of him because he wasn't a quarterback to take you all the way. So they traded, because he had went to a Super Bowl 1 year prior to him coming to Detroit. 2 years prior for him coming to Detroit, they went to Super Bowl and they lost. So, the Rams organization said, we want to go all in. Jared Goff is not the guy. We don't want him. So that's why Matthew Stafford came into play. So the Lions received Jared Goff and also 2 first-round picks. They sent Matthew Stafford to the Rams organization. And the first year that he got there, they won the Super Bowl. Won the Super Bowl. And so, so it's like when you, in hindsight, you look at it and like, oh man, the Lions did incredible things. And they have, but nobody cares if how many games you win in the regular season. If you get to the playoff game and you lose one, you're out. You're done.
You're out.
So, man, I'm happy that they improved, but this year was Super Bowl or bust. That was the season. That was the season. And they didn't make it. They didn't win it. So it's a failed season. And that bar is not raised. You can't say, oh, the Lions made the playoffs. Well, who cares?
Right.
We might as well had not made the playoffs. We was going to lose the first second round. So, yeah.
Joanne, when did you start hearing the meows from? At what point did you? Right. At what point did you say, "Yikes"?
I didn't really watch the game. I was flipping back and forth.
You like me.
I was doing other things. But when one of my friends, she called me because my husband was at a watch party.
Okay.
And so one of my friends called me from the watch party, talking about the Lions and talking about, because my husband was like, "Oh, they're gonna do something." And I guess within the next few minutes they did it, which was not a good thing.
Not a good thing.
I think it was. And I said, "Oh boy!" So I kind of turned it on to watch, and I was like, And then one of my friends from Alabama called. Oh, they gonna do it. They gonna do it because that's a weak team. I said, "Look, the Lions they win with these hard teams, and then what y'all call weak teams. Those are the games they lose. When everybody else is calling weak teams." So I told him, I said, "I don't know now. I don't know. You say it's a weak team, but just trust me." Yeah.
They're here. They can't be that weak.
Right.
Thank you. They're in the playoffs. Shoot.
So I was scrolling through some of the comments that were made. Nate Gallagher says, "Choking again. Glad I've never had faith in them."
Aww.
That's terrible. Riley Crystal says, "So heartbreaking. Honestly, what a season to come into the playoffs like that. Defense could not find a rhythm."
But see, it wasn't the defense. Like I mean, I don't think like the Lions defense has been bad ever since we lost, right? But so it's like it was the offense. If we had one turnover in the red zone, so that's at least 7 to 3 points. You know what I'm saying? And so when you look at it, the Lions defense have been bad all year. They've done just enough. It was the offense who didn't score enough. When you look at Jared Goff threw 3 interceptions, so it was 4 offensive turnovers. That right there, when you don't score, you allow the other team to score, you get yourself down. So I feel like, and then too, you got to think the defensive coordinator has been playing with players off the street. Like a practice player is a player that's not good enough. You got to think about this. They make the team. You see what I'm saying? So if you're playing with practice players, this player isn't good. You can't. He wasn't good. If he was good, he'd be on the team.
You would be on the team.
You know what I'm saying? So he's just good enough. And so the Lions have filled out their defense with players that are just good enough. Because, and it's like it's hard to win like that, but you can win like that when you have an offense that can go out and flawlessly and not punt like we've seen them do. But Jared Goff picked the wrong day to have a bad day. Just like the Houston game. I don't know if y'all familiar with the Houston game. He threw 5 interceptions. You know what I mean? But was able to come back from it. Not this time. That's the Lions should have lost that game.
Brad Rock says they deserve to lose.
They did.
They're And so does Justin. He says the same. Their coaches were more focused on their next gig this week than having their team ready.
Wow.
I disagree
Wow.
with that. I disagree with that
Wow.
narrative. So what they're referring to is that the Lions had a bye week that first week, right? So during that bye week, they didn't have a game. The
Mhm.
coaches on the staff was allowed to interview for coaching positions during
Right.
that week. Well, that week, everybody had the week off. They practiced for 2 days that week, and they were all given time off to be with their families because they knew they wouldn't play again to the next Saturday, which means they would have a whole week of preparation that they would do. So the
Mm.
Lions didn't, so the coaches interviewing for the position had no bearing on the game prep that it should have been. And that week that they interviewed, the Lions had no idea who they were playing. At that point, it could have been Washington Commanders, it could have been the Green Bay Packers, it could have been the Rams, it could have been four different teams depending on who won and who lost. So during that week, how can you prepare for a team that you don't even know
If
you
you don't know
play?
who you're playing, right?
Right. So I disagree with that narrative. I think that's just, I don't know. Sorry, Mister.
Emotions.
Whoever you, yeah, emotions. But no, they had a normal prep game week like they would any other week, in NFL. So that extra week, they were giving time off to be with their families and to interview and do stuff like that. So I disagree with that narrative.
Now, is there a such thing, Joanne? Do you think of having too much rest? Because you think that
Uh,
they're coming off that adrenaline. They how many games did they win? 14,
15 too.
15
15.
games. They're up here. They have winning in their mind and in their blood, and then they go take a rest of 7 days.
I mean, 2 weeks really. It was
Oh,
two
two, you're
weeks.
right, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Because they had the week that they had off, then they had the week to prepare before they played that Saturday.
Played
So initially they had it's 2 weeks before they since they played.
So you're saying that you think that adrenaline just kind of went down
fizzle.
that mental, because when you keep
Yeah,
pumping and keep pumping and keep going, you keep that rhythm. You
it's
keep
it's
that.
it's up.
Who
I don't
knows?
know.
I don't know.
I
I
don't
don't know.
know. It's
Yeah.
almost it's like if and we all play piano, so
Mm-hmm.
you're practicing, then you stop and say, I'm not going to practice anymore, maybe until Friday or Sunday morning before I have to play, or Sabbath morning, whatever the
Mm.
case
Mm-hmm.
may be.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of rusty a little, could be, not necessarily
Yeah.
have to be, but some of the edge is gone. I don't know.
Right. I
I'm not
got
a,
you. I
you know,
understand what you're saying. I don't know. I
And
truly
in
don't.
in football, I don't I think it's possible. I think it does play very minimal, but I think in football, rest is your best friend because these guys, beat the hell out of each other,
right.
in a Sunday game. They literally leave it all on the floor. And so sometimes, that little tweaked shoulder, that little turned ankle, and that week you kind of get better so that you can do it all over again.
Uh-huh.
So in football, I don't think that the Lions sitting two weeks where they played brought
Mm-hmm.
down the minimum momentum. I think the Lions knew what was at stake. They had it. They had it made literally, and they just wasn't able to capitalize. And the thing about games is that somebody got to win, somebody got to lose, and sometimes the better team find themselves on the opposite side of it. And that's the brilliant thing about the NFL. Very seldomly in the NFL, the Lions probably had the most blowouts this season, and they probably had three because these are still the best of the best. So it's
Of the
like you're not
best.
going to have so any given day, one player like Jared Goff having a bad day can make all the difference. But can we please clap it up for Jaden Daniels, who is a black quarterback, who's a rookie, man, who's a rookie who played lights out phenomenal, who's so cool, calm, and collected and poised, man. I think last night we saw greatness. I think you saw the future of the NFL. You know what I mean? Just the,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. I mean, flawless.
Do you think that the Lions have age on their side to return to the playoffs for next year?
Yes, I think you did probably about 2 more years. So everybody is pretty young and everybody just got their first contract. So
Mm,
we're yeah, I think we're gonna be good. I don't think age is gonna be a problem. I think eventually they're gonna run out of money. There's a salary cap. So far most of the core have been paid, minus Jamison Williams haven't been paid yet. Um the tight end Laporta hasn't been paid yet, meaning that they're still playing on rookie contracts. And then when you rookie contract says, okay, you got to make $10 million over 3 years. Well, now that they come out of that rookie contract, they're going to get the tight end market. So, I mean, like Jared Goff. Jared Goff was just given $221 million. But that's because that's what a market quarterback
quarterback
gets.
gets.
So the market kind of sets it versus the performance. You're a starting quarterback. Starting quarterbacks are being paid. Well, the Lions have locked up David Montgomery. They locked up the players on the offensive line, but Gibbs is going to be a question is going to be coming up pretty soon because this is his second year, it's his third year, so he probably got one more year left. JMO has a fifth-year option, Laporta as well. So and then you got to think about Corey Joseph is playing on a rookie contract. He leads the NFL in interceptions and playing lights out. Brian Branch is also a good player. So now we're looking at five core pieces to this team that's going to be able to demand market rate money. And so when the Lions are trying to keep everybody, they may say, "Hey, man, we want you to stay, whatever. I know you got the most interceptions, but we can only offer you 20 million a year." Whereas the Buccaneers are not in that case, and they think that Corey Joseph is the missing piece to their team. They say, "Hey, man, we'll give you 30 million a year." And then that happens. So I don't think you're going to see an age out thing. I think that the Lions have probably like a 3 to 4 year window, but I think in the next 2 years you're going to have to see Brad Holmes make some tough decisions, meaning who he's going to keep and who he's not going to keep, because
So,
you can't keep everybody.
yes, you
Right,
can. No, you can't.
right, right.
So you made a point, and I want to backtrack on what you said
Hmm.
about the practice. I
Hmm.
just recently learned, Joanne, that because I had been asking about where is Donovan Peoples, and I know he had been on the team and he was playing maybe last year or the year
Hmm.
before.
Yeah, he
Well,
played
then I
last year.
learned what last year.
Hmm.
So, and I just recently learned about that he had to go because of low performance or for he
He
had
just
to
never separated himself.
from his college days.
So he was brought in to be Craig we had a guy that left and went to Denver, the guy Craig Reynolds, who dropped the balls in that 49ers game. He left for more money or whatever he did. Actually, I don't know if you guys knew, but he was shot in the head in Denver at a nightclub. Yeah, so
I heard
he's
about
he's
that.
completely yeah,
Yeah.
he's completely
Yeah.
not playing football right now. Um, but so the Lions were trying to see, okay, who's going to be that third receiver? Who's going to be that fourth wide receiver? And they brought in competition.
Hmm.
Well, the competition and the players they brought in, he never did anything to separate himself to show that he was better than
He
them.
was better.
So they decided not to put him on a 53-man roster. He cleared waivers as a big body receiver who has potential. They offered him a contract to sign to their practice team. Since yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I
Wow.
was just going to say that. And you brought up a good point. If the practice team are the people that couldn't make the team, they're always going to outplay the practice team,
Right, exactly. Because
won't they?
right.
Well, in most.
Some in most cases, yes. Every now and then, a guy will come out of nowhere and have an unbelievable season, have an unbelievable moment. That was a practice squad player that got pulled up or something like that. It does happen, but it's far and in between. Practice players are practice players for a reason. I mean, because they're just not as good. They're just not good enough.
Right.
But when somebody's hurt and you're in the system, and I'd rather let you play because you already know what we're doing versus
Hmm.
getting somebody who's who maybe I heard maybe a tad bit better than you, but now they got to learn everything that we do
Right.
here. I'm just going to bring you up versus bringing somebody else in.
Wow.
Well, I guess the one thing we all can agree, and that's all of the fans, that they had a great year,
They
in terms
did.
of those wins. And I would venture to say that they did their very best up until
Yes.
yesterday.
I think they
Up
But
until
did.
you.
yeah, yeah. So we're going to remain hopeful. You said we got 3 more good years.
They still are
I say about
lions.
3 more.
3 more. Well, yeah, Joanne, that's right. They're still our
Still are
lions.
lions.
Still our
Yeah, they
lions.
still Lions.
So I want to move over to an interesting story that I've been following, and maybe some people have been following, and it's with the
Hmm.
pastor of Greater New Mount Moriah, Reverend Kenneth Flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, 63 years old, and he was accused
Hmm.
of um, kidnapping,
Hmm.
having a sexual relationship with a minor, his next door neighbor, who was a 16 or 7, I think 16 at the time. Now he kept proclaiming his innocence.
Hmm.
He said that this is not what happened. He's an upstanding man, and he has a lot of, or he had a lot of connections with Mrs. Coretta Scott King, the wife of Dr. Martin Luther King, and I think he even claimed her as his godmother.
Mm.
Political activist in the city and across the country. Even when he was in California, he was
Mm-hmm.
always about the movement and the progression of Black people. Well, up until December, he was the pastor of Greater New Mount Moriah. What he did was, and then he resigned. He opted to take a plea deal as
I didn't know
opposed,
that.
yes, a plea
Now I gotta
deal.
go search
I didn't know
this.
that part.
I didn't know
Yes,
it took a plea deal.
he took a plea deal and said he didn't want to go to do a trial, and so they have sentenced him to 15 years. That's 63, 73, what, 78
Hmm.
before he can get out of
What's his
prison.
name?
Kenneth Flowers,
Mm-hmm.
Greater New Mount
Yeah.
Moriah.
I
Now,
mean, but this is my thing because listen, let me tell you something.
tell me,
If I didn't do something, if it is not true, I don't care how I'm fighting because
I'm going to
I'm
I'm
fight.
I'm I'm with
fighting to the
you. I'm
last.
with you.
Hmm.
I am not going to let it happen. I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm gonna. So that just going to show that he's guilty. That's all I'm trying to say.
I'll say. Now, Greater New Mount Moriah is one of the churches that have been known in the city of Detroit for being a community
Mm-hmm.
church as well as being politically involved. What
Right.
is his name? Dr. Benjamin Hooks used to be the pastor, and they've had very outstanding men to pastor the church, as well as they've been known for their music department. All this. Now, they had to, because he was still the pastor, and because of however that contract was written, they had to foot the legal bills for him.
Mm.
Oh wow.
Yes, and I
Mm.
would assume that they had to cover it until there was a decision made by the courts, which was made, and that he resigned, and also he took that plea deal. Here's my question:
And
how
they
does
gave him the 15 years. Dang.
15
I,
years?
I was just reading that the
Well, they
maximum that
say
he could have got
15 years.
was
Yeah.
the
Plus,
maximum, and so if he got 15, they gave him the maximum.
They gave him the max. What were you saying, Joanne?
so it was saying the maximum penalty on the criminal sexual conduct charge is 15 years.
Oh,
The
that's just
maximum
one charge.
penalty on the sexual assault charge is 10 years.
Whoa.
So, oof.
What?
And it was a 17-year-old boy.
Yes. Yes, yes, and yes.
I'm kind of
And
confused because it says one count of criminal sexual conduct with force or coercion, right? So
Mm-hmm.
one count, so of with force or coercion, and one count of criminal sexual assault with the intent to commit sexual penetration with the intent. So I guess I'm pretty much digging too deep into what happened, but I'm sorry, that's how my brain works.
uh,
I'm like, what did he
Well,
do? What did he
because
okay,
try
you
to
know
do?
what,
You
and
know what
part of
I
it
mean?
is because some people think that oral sex is not sex.
right.
Right.
So
So right.
that could be the coercion, but they actually probably the other part that you read is probably he wanted to have
He
sex, which is a
wanted to have
different
sex.
Right.
charge.
Right. He
Which is
wanted
a
to.
different
Right.
charge.
But
Mhm.
And
it
so
but
if
it
yeah,
didn't happen because I think he would have been charged with CSC 1.
Mhm.
That would be
that's
penetration.
sexual assault. Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah,
with penetration. Yeah.
penetration. So the fact that he was charged with the intent would mean that it was no, I guess, penetration that
Penetration,
way.
but
Right.
oral
But
sex
But
force,
it's
is
but force or coercion could have just means that one count of the whole thing. Like if I bring you in my house and I say I want to have sex with you and you tell me no and I lock the door, or if I take your phone away, that would constitute as you know force or coercion.
and and
coercion,
Coercion.
right?
and that particular charge was brought in after the original charges about the kidnapping. So apparently he held him in his home without his consent. Um, the crazy thing about it is that he did it, number one, and then his next door neighbor, and so they had been neighbors for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So he's seeing this young man grow, maturing into a teenager, and I don't know. I don't remember reading anything where it said that he was grooming him, but he had to be doing something
Mhm.
at some point to get him into the house.
Right.
You see, but I can't find the
That's
final
sad. That's
article.
sad.
Every
It's very
every
sad.
article that I'm seeing is just the fact that he was arrested and da da da. Like I can't find where he took a plea deal. Where you see that at?
I read that last
Oh,
weekend.
here it is. Oh,
You
well,
see
no,
it?
well, they offer the plea deal.
Hmm.
Here's defense offers plea deal.
Okay, yeah, here you go.
Um,
Okay, I put in that. This was January. Profile defense offers plea deal for Detroit pastor accused of I didn't say rape. Hold on. Uh, why my computer doing that? Hold on, I'll read it. Dismiss. I don't know. Wait, why is it doing
yeah,
that?
and he waived
Hold on.
his right to a preliminary exam in district court, and it could be. I'm just assuming that he didn't want everything to come out.
To
That's
come
To
out.
probably
come
why.
out. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
Yes.
probably why he did not want to
Mhm.
go to trial because then a whole lot of other stuff. It
A lot of
sounds
us.
like
Mhm.
that a
And
whole lot of other stuff might come out.
then too, or
Okay.
also, I'm sure that the prosecutors would have searched or put forth effort to find other people who may have been affected
Right,
by him.
right,
You know,
right.
so
Yeah.
Oh, mercy.
whatever the case is bad. How does Greater New Mount Moriah, a church that has been pristine in this city and across the country, how do you think they rebound from this?
Man. I think once the pastor is gone, then I think it's kind of easier as long as the thing about it is going to be who you lost. Because the people, when all this stuff came out, I would guess that people would have left the church because I didn't want to be there and stuff like
They
that. So,
did.
so I think you just manage the damage at the end of the day. The church is going
Mm-hmm.
to be there. You have members that are going to be there. That's been there for years. It's not going to go nowhere. And
Mhm.
so I think your next best thing is figuring out who's the best successor. And then I think at that point you just have to move on because it wasn't on this the thing. It wasn't nothing on the church.
Right.
it wasn't like second ed where, you know what I'm saying, these people were being groomed at church,
At
the
church.
youth, you know what I mean, and
Mhm.
stuff
Right.
like that. This happened outside of the church in no relation. This
And
kid was not a member of his church.
but
Um,
and do we know that? Because if
we
he doesn't want to go to court, we don't know what could have come out in court.
yeah.
So, does
In
do we
terms of what
really
could have been
know
going
that
on in
in
church.
church
Mhm.
with some of
Right.
the,
Now that's
so
not
we
to
really
say,
don't know
oh
that.
no,
We
I'm sure when this came out, I know people who came out and said that this guy was a predator, and they had some experiences with him to a capacity and all that.
Mhm.
So I know that firsthand.
No, I
So
mean
I'm
this.
not.
I mean the flowers. The,
Right, that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about
oh,
I know people who said that
oh,
they were sexually assaulted and harassed by that man, by him.
oh.
I know
Okay,
Oh,
that
gotcha.
firsthand. Yes. So
Okay,
the
I
dude
got
is a monster and he got what he deserved and he's, you know what I'm saying, that is what it is.
you.
So no doubt. You more so using his influence, not necessarily a member of his church, but people that where he used his influence to, yeah. Um
to worm his way around.
And I think the
exactly.
church is going to need a healing. They probably need someone to come in to help,
To counsel
um
first,
to,
yeah.
Yeah.
to counsel
Yeah.
to get them back on the right track. I
Hmm.
don't think, and I think that maybe they shouldn't hurry up and get a pastor.
Hmm.
Do some healing. Let
I,
the
I
people,
disagree. I disagree.
they
I
need
think you need
to,
to
they have
hurry up and get a
leadership
pastor.
there, so, but there's a healing that needs to go on, especially for those who agree with, those who were still on his side, those who were not, those who left, those who, because
Yeah.
some of those even who left are going to come back. you know
Hmm.
it's it's it's
I just
it's it's going
I
to
just
be a
don't think
little
that has no
rocky.
Sticky.
bearing on the church. I don't
It's
think that
gonna
has any bearing on the church.
Why is that?
Because it's like the pastor is not the church. Okay, he's the person that is there preaching. He may be the face of the church. But once he is removed, then new leadership takes abroad. Like this is no different than just because it's church, it's no different than a CEO of a company who was involved in a scandal or maybe and then gets fired. No, the church has to go on. So Bible
It
study is
does
still
have to
going
go
on
on, but
because the word
in
still
the
need to be teaching.
church, there's there are more issues that go on than when it comes to corporate world. There's more emotional, um
Attachments.
Right.
attachments. They're emotional versus the corporate world. I'm not saying there's no emotional attachments, but there's a lot more that goes on, when it comes to that church Christian,
I
life.
just think
That,
it's more of a personal thing than a church thing. Meaning, like,
well, I know,
if that was your pastor and you loved him, like, yes, you're going to be hurt by it, you're going to be sad by it, you'll be emotional about it, but that has nothing to do with the church, with going to church, or if I'm
no,
giving my offering,
yeah.
if I'm stopping, like to me. So it's like, yes, it's personal, but I don't think it has no weight on the bearing of the organization. So how did the organization move forward? The organization moved forward by literally moving forward. Fine. If you got a search committee, if you got somebody in house, get into it, but don't wait because you have to move past it. And so I think the only way you do that is by forgetting it ever happened because the healing process in this is not like he did anything. It will be personal. Like, man, you let me down. It's not, but that has nothing to do with the function of
But
and the
people
organization of the
blame.
church.
But even though I understand and agree with what you're saying, but people blame the church. They look at the church. They don't. And to me, what I hear you saying is the business side of the church, and I understand that part. But there are also those that emotional connection that, and part of this too is this is just another way that the enemy can embarrass or try to embarrass God. So
Hmm.
Yeah,
there's that whole, and then you have the people who are not. Yeah, see, he up there. Yeah, see, that's why I don't go to church. That's why I don't. So I understand the business side. I understand that because
yeah. No, I
that church
think
got to
that, but
roll
that's
on.
more
The business side has to roll on. But then there's
right.
another
But not
side that we need to
Address.
seek, address, and get counseling and seek some spiritual advisement
Hmm.
to help us
Move
move
on.
on and not just focus on the business side of it. That, yeah, the church need to roll on. Yeah, the church does need to roll on, but there's another section that needs that needs help. Some of those people are going to need some help. And so I kind of put it all together that, you know, because yeah, you can roll on, but if you don't get some stuff fixed, then issues will continue to fester. I think that's just my opinion. That's just what I've seen in church life that I've
So what I also would say too, the responsibility that the church had to undertake with those legal costs. Now I'm sure because he didn't have a court-appointed attorney, public defender.
Mm-hmm.
He reached out and got an attorney, and I'm sure with what he was faced with, that might have been a $50,000 retainer
or more.
Yeah,
or more.
I think that it's more on a bearing of it'd be different if he committed these acts as the pastor in his official duty. So the church backing him, in my opinion, from my experience of dealing with churches, would be an independent decision or a collective decision from the body that say, hey, we love you, we're going to support you. So I think that they made a decision, whether they voted on it or not. Somebody made a decision and said, hey, we're going to help you through
You're
this
going to do
process
this.
and
Leave you out to
not
dry.
leave you a dry, right? Whereas in Second Ev's cases, Second Ev had to hire a lawyer to ensure that, I mean, well, they settled. They did. They had to settle these, you know, whatever they had going on. So I think it's something totally different. So I think that it's from a place of that they wanted to, because it's not nothing that they had to do. So I think that maybe in that case, like they wanted to, and like I said, they could have voted, they could have did whatever. So I think it's more so like support. And I think whether people have done wrong, we are all human. We all have made mistakes. It may not have been to this magnitude, but he's in need of the same grace, the same love, and the same forgiveness that we all are. And sometimes people understand that and are not so bitter. So what I would like to say about that is that New Mount Moriah is obviously a healthy organization, because to take the public embarrassment and say, man, you really embarrassed us, and you know, you got our name looking bad out here in these streets. And to still support that man and, you know, and give him support, I think it really shows the love of God. So shout out to them.
Well, yeah, I would agree with that, because if I was the head, whatever, I would
You'd
say,
be like, nope.
We love you. We're gonna cut this check for you, and God be with you. as in the most politically correct way.
And then you wonder, you know, I don't know all different denominations and what they do, but you wonder if that is part of the contract.
Possibly, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Possibly.
So yeah, they might have wanted to. Some might have wanted to. Some might have not. But is that part of legal defense? Part of his contract? So, which means if that's part of his contract, that's something that they had to do.
Now, let me go on record for saying this. This is Rufus saying it. There is a possibility that in the back of his head saying, if I get caught doing these actions,
that's crazy. That's crazy work.
I want to make sure when I go to my new gig, you will cover every legal expense I may incur.
Quite possibly. That's some crazy work.
It's crazy sounding.
That is.
But you know, if you
never know what people think.
You never know what they're
thinking. A lot of people get away with stuff, and they get away with it for so long that they think they're never going to get caught. And it's not that I say I'll never get caught. It's just that in their mind, that they're outsmarting everybody. And to me, and this is just my opinion, this is what the devil does to us. He allows us to continue. And then all of a sudden, especially when we're supposed to be and I don't want to, especially when we're Christians striving to walk the walk.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he does. And then at some point, who knows why he does it at some point, but he snatches the covers
The
away,
grace.
and now
Mm-hmm.
you're exposed.
Now you're exposed.
And so he does that at some point that I don't know if he feels is right, if we just lost it, if we, I don't know. I don't know.
One of the, I was in a situation once, and I've told this before on talking to that I was at a party, and at the party there were people that were there, and I was in the living room, and I decided to tell a joke, and it was not an appropriate joke, but I'm at a party.
Mm-hmm.
This is a joke I wouldn't say in front of my mother. That kind of a joke. So I'm going, people are talking and people are talking. So about the five of us that were right in this vicinity, and I'm talking and I'm talking. And as I'm telling the joke, I'm hearing people stop talking to listen to the joke. Now, common sense would have told me to stop, but
read the room.
read the room. But they were laughing. I was on my high horse. I'm being funny. Look out, Jay Leno. And then I got to the punchline, told the punchline, and somebody said, "Isn't that Rufus Bill over there?"
Mm.
I grabbed my coat and I left because I was so embarrassed. And I was that I wasn't embarrassed about telling the joke. I was embarrassed about them associating me with that joke. And they just would not have expected me to say that. And I was, working in radio at the time. So that taught me a lot, and that taught me a lot. Boy, close your mouth. Stop trying to be funny.
Stop trying to be funny. Listen.
And we have to be very conscious of our actions. Now, of course, the flower situation is an extreme, but as adults and trying to be morally compassed, we really have to be careful of what we say and what we do, especially outside of the house. Now, in the house too, especially if you're having children and you're rearing children, that what comes along with that. But when you're on another turf, ixnay, is that right? Ixnay? Is that Pig Latin? Ixnay?
Ixnay.
So I just thought we would kind of talk about that. And if there's anyone that will be viewing this a little later, we're not discrediting your church at all, or are we discrediting the former pastor? We're just talking about the situation at hand and just moving forward. And I agree.
And I agree. We all deserve what Justin said. We all deserve that grace and forgiveness, but we have to claim it, though. We have to claim it. It's there for us, but we have to claim it. So yeah, he deserves grace and forgiveness. He does. If he claims it. If he claims it.
I wouldn't want to be going in jail with that.
Man, you couldn't pay, man.
I mean, you can especially speak on that, Justin.
Yeah.
Just the consciousness of the residents in a facility about children, even though he's 17 now, or might be 18 now, but 16 is when it occurred. I don't know. I for his safety, I hope the very best for Pastor Flowers.
For sure.
And we've worked together on a lot of Martin Luther King ceremonies and events right around right at this time when I was at the station, and very, very connected in terms of
Mm-hmm.
blackness and moving ahead and the importance of us of our people being their better selves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just very mind blowing.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
sad.
It's,
It's
it,
sad.
and sad. It most of
Mhm.
all, especially anybody but black men, and you've given your life, and then you have these demons and things that you have. I guess you have no control over your
Mm-hmm.
addictions and your prowess and all of that. But it's just
Yes, it
very
is.
sensitive and touchy. It is. This
Yeah.
is election year in the city of Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to get a new mayor because Mr. Dugan is going, or
Jugging.
Duggan, Mr. Duggan is going to put his hat in the ring for governor of the state of Michigan as an independent. So the buzz around the city are the people who have already uh, put in their bids, did the paperwork to run for mayor. Mary Sheffield, who was the president of Detroit City Council, Santil Jenkins, who's the former
Mm-hmm.
president of City Council, Fred
Mm-hmm.
Durhall, who was a former state representative. His dad was a state representative, and now he's a member of City Council. And Joel H. Hash Hi him
Machine or something.
Hashim, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really familiar with him. Are you, Joanne?
No, not at
He's
all.
a businessman.
I figured
Um,
he had to be.
yeah, he's a businessman. And you missing the lawyer too,
Oh, Todd Perkins.
Todd Perkins.
Yeah, Todd Perkins. I've worked with Todd. I like Todd.
Yeah.
Um, Now, what I think is interesting that there is not a millennium yet in this pool.
Well, I think Mary Sheffield would be a millennial.
Is she?
Yeah, I think she's like 36.
Oh yeah, the cutoff is 38.
Yeah, she's like
Okay.
36.
Okay,
Okay.
36. Okay, we do have
Yeah.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go from here in terms of our city? It, Joanne is a homeowner in the city. Justin, he works for the city. What what do we need?
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
in, in our next leader, because there were mixed emotions about Mike Duggan, saying that he wasn't for the people, and he had done some things at DMC, and then he was forced to come over here. Then, of course, when the write-in campaign, there were just a lot of mixed feelings. And what some people don't understand or realize, that usually when the new mayor comes in or a new elected official comes in, they're going to be writing or administering or being the manager over what has already been signed and
Put in
sealed,
place, right?
put in
Mm-hmm. At
prior
least for
to
at
them
least for
getting
the first 2 years,
at least for
usually.
the
At
first
least
two
for the first two
years.
years.
At least
Yes.
for the first 2 years. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what we want to do is not go backwards, but move
Please.
forward.
Please. Please.
Hmm.
Yes.
And I would say,
Yes. So I
especially,
think, yeah.
what were you going to say?
No, I was just gonna say I think I haven't heard like the platforms yet,
Right.
what they're really trying to run on. I just
Hmm.
know that these people are running. So I haven't done my due diligence as far as research yet to see exactly what their platforms are. But we just can't forget about the neighborhoods.
Hmm.
We need to do something about the taxes. We need to do so. There's some things. Yeah, there's some things
Yes.
that we need to. I would love to see, and I don't know how the mayor's office implements that, but even when it comes to block clubs and enforcing a lot of the laws that are on books, and we think they're small, but they affect neighborhoods. Um, just to kind of concentrate on the neighborhoods. You know, we've done a lot. We're doing a lot. We've done a lot downtown. We've really built up all those areas, but now it's time to get into these neighborhoods.
Into the neighborhoods, and especially if your neighborhood is not part of the new infrastructure that's going on.
Right.
Because I I don't. I mean, I do drive the freeway, but sometimes I just drive around, just on the surface streets,
Same
and
here.
just sometimes I look and I'm like, what street is this? And not because of the houses there are vacant homes or just a lot of land. It's just raggedy, and I'm talking about in terms of the street. Big potholes where the city has not, especially in the summer, doesn't do the upkeep with parks and the Department of what is it, Parks and Works and Parks, cutting grass, things like that, where that just looks so bad.
Right, and I think
And I know,
even with the new contract now with the garbage, that has improved though.
Yeah.
So, and I like the fact that it used to be once a month was bulk,
right,
and then the sanit
hmm
the blue can, which is well, that
recycle.
was recyclable. That
Recycle.
was every 2 weeks. So now everything is every week. So if you want to put things out, so that has, I mean, we there was a little glitch in the beginning when they switched contracts, but um, I think that has really improved and changed. That stuff is not sitting out on streets for
For
2 or 3
lengths of
weeks and
time.
right, that
Exactly.
kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, so that's a good thing. But I just want to see what
Um,
their platforms are. I need to do my due diligence and do the research to see
yeah.
what platforms they're running on.
Justin, have you had
Mhm.
any experience with any of the people that
Yeah.
I named?
Yes. So I think that what the city needs now more than ever is strategic leadership. I think that Mike Duggan has laid a foundation, done great work for the city. I think that the development initially started downtown. I think it already has trickled into our neighborhoods. I think, not maybe not every neighborhood, but
Mm-hmm.
I can name several neighborhoods
That have
where,
improved.
that has improved, that the abandoned houses have been torn down, and opportunities to own lots or to start community gardens has happened, from redoing, the Avenue of Fashion of Livernois, taking that from Livernois to now to 6 Mile,
Right.
moving that from 6 Mile and live 6 Mile area. Now they're over East Side,
Warren right
Cashew
here.
from Warren
Mhm.
all the way to Mac is brand new apartment buildings on the corner. When is the last time the city put up an apartment building?
Right.
So
Actually, like
so
Chalmers all the way to Mac. Yeah,
yeah, so a
Chalmers
lot of those
pretty much.
areas, so it's
Hmm.
trickled to the neighborhood. It has trickled down to the neighborhood, but I think it needs to be extended. It needs to be more, and I think you're gonna see it, because one thing that we have to understand is that uh, money comes from tax dollars, and so we got to lure major corporations, cut some deals, and then you benefit from the back end of those deals, which generate more money for the city. So I think the
Hmm.
development has reached. So I think that basically we're in a position where the
Yes.
path that the torch just needs to be passed, and the person just needs to be competent to keep going with what's been set in place. Because you're going to still see the Duggan administration probably another 4 to 5 years, of stuff that's in place, or
Exactly.
business deals and subsidies. You're going to see it's still going to be in place. So
Hmm.
right now, we don't need nobody to
Mhm.
come in and to reinvent the wheel. We don't need nobody to come in and
That's right.
try to change or come up with some inside out perspective, when the plane is already take just keep
It's already
just
set.
keep extending it, just keeps extending it.
Right.
um
Right.
and then and then look for those opportunities where areas where things have not been touched. Like I can name areas where I feel well, I'm not saying not like, prime example, like we have Motor City Match. So it's already exists. So find out how to extend it. Find money, find grant money to keep that stuff going. They're giving
Mm-hmm.
$25,000 for people who wants to buy homes in the city of
In
Detroit.
Detroit.
Find ways to keep that stuff going. So you don't need to. You don't need nobody to come in and say I'm the smartest person in the room. You need
Right.
somebody to come in the room. Kind of like
And
the
just,
Lions, or kind of like the Lions organization, right? The Lions organization took a different approach, and they went and they looked for a guy that in Brad Holmes that was charismatic, that cared about the people, and that had a collective mindset. That said, I understand that we're hiring you to do the job, but he said I can't do this job without a number two. I can't do this job without this person, without that person. We don't need nobody who to come in and say I'm the new mayor in town, and this is what I'm going to do. No, we need somebody
That's right though.
who's gonna have a collaborative effort and say, hey, these are my strengths, and the things that I'm not strong at, I'm not going to pretend like I know what I'm doing, but I'm going to hire somebody to be able to do that. Look at the current police chief. We have a mayor that's white in a predominantly black city.
mhm.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it was by happenstance that Bettison, being the community guy that loves Chief Bettison, that loves the community, was selected to be the deputy mayor and led to lead initiatives that brought forth critical change in the police or even Chief White, in those relationships that we had with the CBI groups and all those different stuff. That stuff was strategic. And so
Of
I want to
course.
see somebody that is willing to say, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I care and I have passion. And this is what we can do to move to build on what's been done, not tear it down and not find another way, but build on it. So with that being said, in my heart, I believe it's Mary Sheffield's race to lose. I'll say that. I think it's her race to lose. But I believe
Mm.
that she does face some uphill battles. I think she's popular amongst people my age, millennials and less, and she, has celebrity friends, and she more recently was ordained as a minister.
Mhm.
And more recently went to go visit Jamal Bryant and got a good shout out from him and different things like that. So I see her taking steps, but Mary Sheffield challenge is going to be, can she get baby boomers to get out and vote for her? Because the people that I think that love and respect her the most may not be even Detroiters. A lot of people like Detroit culture. A lot of people like to hang out in Detroit, but that don't mean necessarily they live in Detroit. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So you
Right.
gotta you
Right.
gotta actually reach the people that's actually here. So she needs to
Mm-hmm.
connect with the baby boomers and let them know that she's not just some cute pretty princess. And I think that's sometimes that you can look at that and say, oh, she's just a pretty
She was a
princess.
pretty
And
face.
right, he never. And then I think that, and when you look at what has happened, and in her role, she's been able to do a phenomenal job in her role. Led some great initiatives like Occupy the Corner, which is a good thing to give back and to build the community and stuff like that. But then the question is going to becomes, or the question should be asked that she's going to have to answer when you look at what happened in New Orleans. New Orleans was an example of failed leadership from the mayor's perspective and from the chief's perspective, the police
Wow.
superintendent, who happened to be honestly both females.
Mhm.
Um, not saying that females are not capable of doing a job, because I know plenty of women, that's capable. But
Of
but
course.
from looking at the information and the hindsight of the incidents that took place in New Orleans, it looked like you got a police chief making statements saying, "I didn't know." I didn't know that the barricades wasn't there, and
Right.
how could you not know? It's literally your job to do this. Like, do you understand the amount of planning that happens for an event like
Right.
that? Like, how is that even possible? So you look at failed leadership. So I think that even though she's finessed her way into the public light as far as being for the people, well, now you have to transition, and you have to be able to show and prove that you can handle crisis management, that you can actually lead.
Yes, you do.
And I don't think that her career has necessarily shown that. When you look at Chantel Jenkins, if I'm saying her name right,
Santil.
who's been on city council, who helped lead the city of Detroit through bankruptcy. You know
This
what I
is
mean?
true.
She was there for that. So that leadership piece that we need, she can claim hold to that. And who's been working in nonprofit, leading an organization. You know what I mean? Being
Cons.
being 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 the president of city council's popularity contest. You
Yes, it
see what I'm
is.
saying?
That's
It's
how it
just who
is.
who who gets the
Paid
most
votes.
after they well, it used to be where whoever get the most votes was automatically the city council president. Now it's among the common people. So they get together and they select, what I mean, who they want to be their influence leader. But it's popularity contest. It does not mean you know how to lead. And I think that she needs to show her ability, maybe some problems that she's been able to solve, maybe some deals that she's been able to help get closed because of her leadership. That's what we're gonna have to show. But my dark horse in this race is two candidates that has not announced yet, but I would expect from the streets that they will. I expect Chief Craig to. He was on. I expect him to run. I do.
Really?
And I think that yes, and I think that all will be forgiven from the standpoint of now I don't have a horse in this race, so it doesn't matter to me. But the city of Detroit mayor always is nonpartisan. So you don't
Right.
have to be a Republican, you don't have to be a Democrat. And I think that one question is that he can answer is that people know that he's the leader and he holds people accountable. And so I think that he would be appealing to most people. Then the second dark horse in this race that I believe is Pastor Kenlock. Now he hasn't made in the official announcements,
Hmm.
but the streets are talking and they're saying that he's going to run. And so and I think that the fact that Fred Duhall is running kind of takes away from Mary Sheffield, not from Mary Sheffield a little bit. But we'll see, who it comes down to. I think it's going to be Mary Sheffield because of because of name recognition,
Of
and
course.
then it'll be somebody else. I don't know who the person it'll be. It could be Chief Craig. It could be, it could be anybody. It could be
Anybody.
Chantel Jenkins. It could be anybody. So that's going to be interesting to see who's going to be in that second seat, and then you will see the real race happen once we have two people that two candidates, whatever.
Viable candidates.
Yeah.
So this is what I want to know. Joanne wants to know. Listeners want to know.
Mhm.
Will you be making an announcement, Justin Hearn?
No, no, no.
Not yet.
I think that what I'm finding out, Rufus, is that that I found this out, and I found this out in my role that I do now currently, is that um there's a man that sits in the seat, but there's many men that's not in the seat, but near the seat, and then
Yes.
don't have to worry about the pressure or the public scrutiny
Of being
of
in the seat.
of being in the seat.
That's right. That's
And what
right.
I've
That's right.
decided is that of how I want to affect change, I don't want to be the man in the seat. And I don't think I'm too brash. I'm too much of a realist. I speak with mine too much. That I think I'll offend people a little bit too. I'm just being honest.
Uh,
So it's better for me to be the man behind the man.
the puppeteer.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that.
We're not
I
puppeteers.
wouldn't, I wouldn't say that. That
The
sounds vindictive.
That's another category.
that
Yeah, I
the
would.
advisor.
The
That's
advisor, the
that's
you
the
know the
Elon
the
Musk Trump
advisor.
category.
You're right. The advisor, the deputy mayor. You see what I'm saying?
Ah.
The chief of
Oh, okay.
staff. You
Okay.
know what I'm
Okay.
saying? You know, I think that's more suitable for me. And so, I'll be, I've been with DPD going on 6 years and everything like that.
Congratulations.
And I'll be promoted sometime this year to a sergeant, and then we're gonna
All
do
right.
that with at 10 years with DPD. I'll be fully vested. I'll probably be looking to to pivot my career. You know what I mean? In a way
Right.
where I can be a political insider, or I can help people run their campaigns and help them get elected, and look at them and say, "Hey, this is what you need to do." You know what I mean? I think I would be great
That is
in
suited
that
there.
role. And then once I help somebody get elected, then I can find me a job within the system that I'll be good at and do. and be the man behind the man instead of being the man in the seat. And then another thing too is honestly,
Well,
as much as I love the city of Detroit, and as much as I love the impact and the comeback, I don't think I'm still ready to move in the city.
okay.
To live in the city, and it's just because I've been spoiled by the suburbs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just certain things that I don't have to worry about. It's like it's literally night and day. Um,
Yes, it
just
is.
it is, and so I've been spoiled, and I love that. Not saying that I would never move back to the city or anything like that, but I think life should be about convenience as much as possible, and it's just more convenient for me not to live in the city than it is for me to live in the city. Look at the insurance, right? So if I don't and elected officials have to live in the city, but appointees don't.
When I was working at the station with Martha Jean the Queen, working for Martha Jean the Queen, somebody called in and they said, "Queen, you should run for mayor because you'd get it." And her response was, "I'm already the mayor."
Mm,
And I heard her say it, and when I thought about it, I said, in a roundabout way, she really is, because she was just like as you described. She was the person not in the seat, but she
mm-hmm,
had a lot of influence
mm-hmm,
for the people that were in the seats, as well as the influence of the people. And
mm-hmm,
that's a very major dynamic and a
mm-hmm.
needed dynamic to have both of the elected officials' ear and both of the of the citizens' ear. So
Yeah, if I know this is a made up character, but if I could really, I want to be the Olivia Pope. Okay, I don't know what you would call the Mr. Pope. I don't know, but that would be so fitting for me. Like you know what I mean,
okay.
as far as helping people get elected, I
Hmm.
also have a keen for crisis management. Okay, you know what I
Hmm.
mean. This is it looks bad. How do we fix it? How do we get in front of it? How do we turn it around? How do we change the narrative? I'm really good at that. So
And
that's what I would love to do.
this,
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
am I
Awesome.
in the camera?
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
this right here,
Yes.
right here,
She'll follow.
shall follow.
Yes, she'll follow. Like surely goodness and mercy. I like it. Come
All the
on.
days of my
There
life.
we
Hey,
go.
hey, hey,
There we
hey,
go.
hey.
Before we leave, I'd like to give our condolences to Herbert Behrens in the transition of his brother, and Alice, his wife, is a strong, faithful listener. Also to Felisa Wise in the transition of her aunt Sally. She's also a listener and viewer. And also, we still sending out healing to Pastor Pam, who is recuperating and recovering in the comforts of her home. Well, guys, we made it through another show.
Rufus, I don't know if you know, but did you know my older brother passed?
Thank you for saying
Yeah.
that.
But I was just saying that, reach out to mom if you haven't. Reach out
I
to her. Yeah.
Yes, I meant to say
Sincere
call you
condolences. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness.
Yes.
Elijah.
Yes,
And
yes,
it was
yes.
so wild when I was reading the post, but I didn't see who the post was from. And then I'm reading, and then it said my brother, and then it said Elijah in the last paragraph, and my face dropped. I was like, "Oh my God, that's Justin's brother."
Yeah,
Yeah,
because at first I posted it without a picture of him, then I went back and edited and put a picture
and
of
put the
him
picture
yeah,
in.
in it, yeah. So you would have had to
Man,
read the whole thing to get it what I
see,
was saying, but yeah.
I am so very
Oh yeah.
sorry and saddened to
Yes.
hear about that, Justin.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
I,
you, thank you, thank you,
I
thank you.
really am. I remember Elijah well when he would come to peace and goodwill,
Hmm.
and you said he was funny, and yes, he
Hmm.
he was funny. I remember
Character.
once I went over to your parents' home. We went for dinner, and he came by, and he had everybody laughing.
Mm.
Definitely did. But yes, I am going to reach out to Sister Hearn and just talk with her and
Yeah,
sit and show her some love. So yeah. So anything, of course, that we can do, Justin, definitely
yeah,
keep us
Please, please.
knowledge. Keep us in the loop and we'll do whatever it is that you may need us to do.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. All right, good people. We're going to go. We want to thank
Yes,
everyone for
yes.
listening, and everyone have a great week, and be nice this week.
Be
Celebrate
nice.
Martin Luther King's birthday tomorrow,
So, how about that?
How
please.
about it?
Celebrate Martin Luther King's birthday tomorrow. I just learned today that the event that is happening tomorrow, I said, why is it happening on his birthday? But I didn't even realize it's always on that date.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm,
Ah, really?
Yes.
I
And when
mm.
I,
wouldn't
when I
know
Yeah,
that
was
either.
told,
that's true.
when I was told that, I was like, didn't know, but it makes sense. But yes, celebrate Dr. King, and talk to your children, grandchildren about the accomplishments of Dr. King, because you'd be so surprised of how many young people
Hmm.
do not
Don't have a
know,
clue.
don't have a clue at all about
Yeah.
who he is or who he was, and what his contributions, not just to the black people, but to the world, to the world.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. Good evening, Miss Smith. That's our my
Hello.
former teacher. I guess I would
Wow.
say she's still my teacher. Still teaching me. Well, until next week, we will be with you next Sunday, 7:00 p.m. Facebook Live and YouTube. So it's
Yes.
talking to with Justin, Joanne, and yours truly, Rufus Bill. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes,
All
peace.
right. Peace and love.